TV or recording.
Okay. Yeah, it's almost done already. Alright, I have got 5 o'clock. I call the meeting to order today, Monday, June 21st, 2021. We have roll call: Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Eric Eaton, Mackenzie Jewett, myself, Jamie Thurlow, and now Town Manager Jesse Dunbar, officially Town Manager, and Town Clerk Katie Dandering. Is there any adoption of agenda? Is there anything anyone would like to change on the agenda?
I'd like to excuse Kevin Buck from tonight's meeting first.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to excuse Kevin Buck from tonight's meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Alright, adoption of agenda. Is there anything anyone wants to change? Approval of minutes. We have the minutes from Monday, June 7th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, June 7th, 2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from Monday, June 7th, 2021. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Alright, approval of warrants. We have warrant number 118 for $15,030.95, 119 for $9,780.77, warrant 120 for $22,124.06, 121 for $16,619.50, 122 for $70,878.78, and then from FY22 we have warrant 123, which is $64,505.47.
I make a motion to approve warrants 118 through 123.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve warrants 118 through 123. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next we have committee appointments. We have our yearly committee appointments here. Jesse, I don't know how, if you want to step in, just let me know.
Yep.
We can start with the first thing, which is the Acadia Disposal District. And we have Carrie Donovan, says that she is willing to serve another term, and I believe it's, yeah, Carrie's. Yep, and there's no other applicants.
Can I just ask a quick question about all committee appointments in general?
Yep.
If we need some more time to think on any of those, are we allowed to do that? Or we can
You can
table to next week or something?
re-advertise or table.
Or re-advertise,
Yeah.
okay. Alright, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Katie Disposal District, sorry.
Yep, no.
I'll make a motion to appoint Carrie Donovan to the seat on the Acadia Disposal District expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Carrie Donovan to the seat on the Acadia Disposal District expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Alright, next we have the Appeals Board. We have one seat with term expiring at the 2024 town meeting and one alternate seat with term expiring at the 2022 town meeting, sorry. And we have one applicant, which is David Campbell.
I'll make a motion to appoint David Campbell to the seat on the appeals board, term expiring 2024.
I think this is one I want to think about.
Okay.
Maybe advertise, or maybe have Jed come in and talk with you.
Okay.
Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah.
And just before we start putting people on committees, I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
All right. And there's also another seat on the. No one has applied for that.
Is it the alternate seat?
Yeah, for the alternate
Yeah,
seat.
that's correct.
What if? Well, I'll make a motion to appoint David Campbell to the alternate seat with term expiring at the 2022 town meeting.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to appoint David Campbell to one alternate seat with term expiring at the 2022 town meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, and then that leaves one seat still open on there, so what do we
Do you want
just,
us to re-advertise that seat?
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
okay. Next is the Housing Authority, and we have one seat with term expiring June 30th, 2026. And the Housing Authority has, I read this earlier. It's been held by Francis Martin, who is willing to serve another term. And there was no other applicants, Jesse. I just want to be clear, because if we don't have it in the memo.
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to approve Francis Martin to a commissioner seat on the Housing Authority with term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Francis Martin to the commissioner seat on the Housing Authority with the term expiring June 30th, 2026. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, next we have Harbor Committee.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
whoops, sorry. Go ahead.
I thought you skipped over.
No, I'm going back. It just was, the two were not in line with each other here. Harbor Committee, we have two seats that are open, one being held by Steve Carter, one by Josh Lawson. Steve has said that he's willing to serve another term. In our memo, it says that Josh is not, but Josh, would you?
Well, I talked with Peter and Smith, and I'm willing to do it again. You know,
Okay.
I didn't know, who else was willing to serve that.
Yep.
And, if you want me to, I have no problem with it.
Okay. And we have no other applicants on for that seat as well.
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to approve Steve Carter to the seat on the Harbor Committee term ending June 30th, 2024. Is that what you're, yeah, 24. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Steve Carter to commercial fishing seat on the Harbor Committee expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
And I'll make another motion to approve Josh Lawson, term ending June 30th, 2024, to the Harbor Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Josh Lawson to the commercial fishing seat on the Harbor Committee expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, Housing Authority. No, we've already been through that. Library trustees. Now this one, it might help if you explain this, Jesse, because I know this is.
Okay. So you have at least 3 seats expiring June 30th, 2024. The 4th seat may be open depending on whether or not you accept Mike Hayes' resignation
Mm-hmm.
from the board. So that would be your first order of business, is to accept or not his resignation. You have, of the 3 expiring seats, incumbent Susan Edson and Elaine Eaton have said they did not want to be reappointed. Incumbent Kathy Pratt is interested in being reappointed, and you've also received a new application from Martha Donovan.
So
if
we
you
have,
accept Mike Hayes, you have 4 seats.
okay,
to fill
4
and
seats.
2 interested parties.
Gotcha. So, but we need to accept Mike Hayes' resignation if, and I don't see him here, so.
Yep.
And we're sure he wants to resign? Because
Oh,
it's
Jessica?
a little flip-flop in here. I just want to make sure I get it right.
Yes,
If
Jessica.
it's okay if I speak, is that
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I've received 3 different resignation letters from Mike Hayes, and this last one is legit. And I do want to, like, publicly thank him. I mean, he really, that project really took over his personal life, and we cannot thank him enough for everything that he's done for our library. But he is ready now to put him as priority, and I cannot support him enough in his next decisions. So if you guys are interested in accepting his resignation, I think that's the right thing to do.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to accept Mike Hayes' resignation from the Library Board of Trustees effective immediately. Sadly.
Second.
No, very sadly, very sadly.
And to thank him for all
Yeah.
that he's done for the board. It's been moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Michael Hayes from the Library Board of Trustees effective immediately. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, now we need to appoint.
I will make a motion to appoint Kathy Pratt to the Library Board of Trustees with term expiring June 30th, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to,
It's a 3-year term, so it might be 2024.
Yes.
Oh, yep, sorry. Yep, 2024. Yep.
we have
I was looking at the wrong
2024s and, yep.
I was looking at the next one too.
So you would like
It's
to have it
2024.
2024,
Yes,
okay.
please.
And it's been seconded, yep, okay. It's been moved and seconded to appoint Kathy Pratt to the Library Board of Trustees with term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
And then I'll make a motion to appoint Martha Donovan to the Library Board of Trustees with term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Martha Donovan to the Library Board of Trustees with term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
And then at least 2 more on that board?
2 vacancies.
So we have,
Wanna advertise those at the same time?
yes, so we have 1. Okay, so we've got 3 vacancies so far, right? Okay, I'm just trying to keep track of what we don't have filled.
If
Yes,
I,
yes.
I will say that does leave the library board pretty sparse. We do have a lot of responsibilities, so I just wanted to kind of let you know that a lot of responsibilities are being put on, and only a few strong advocates / volunteers that are left. So if there's any way that I can help advertise for those positions, or if anyone knows any names, that you can just slide that into my email, that'd be great. Because
Get recruiting, Jessica.
Yeah.
being the chair of the library board is definitely it's a lot of work, and I just want to make sure that we don't tire anyone else out.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is the planning board. We have, this one's a little bit easier. We have two seats that are now held by Brett Witham and, Marjorie Buck. And both of them wish to be reappointed. Is that correct, Jesse?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
and we also have 3, I didn't realize it was 3, new applications, one from David Horner, one from Beth Gott, and one from David Campbell.
I make a motion to appoint Beth Gott to the seat of the planning board, term ending June 30th, 2022.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to appoint Beth Gott to a seat on the planning board with term expiring June 30th, 2020. Did you say two? Two. Okay. 22. I just want to be sure because we. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mark.
I applaud Beth's willingness to volunteer. I think a concern the board might have is that so many projects that come before us have work being done by God's Construction or God's Disposal is taking the trash away. And so I foresee conflict of interest issues.
So if Beth was appointed to that board and her family companies were part of the project that happened to be going before the planning board, she would have to abstain?
She would have to recuse herself from that.
She would need to make a statement whether or not she can be impartial in the decision, and then the board as a whole needs to take a vote whether or not she needs to be recused from that discussion or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that happens with whoever is on the
Yeah.
board, so it is.
Yeah.
Same with us.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Peter.
But isn't most of these, the plans and stuff, come before it's decided on contractors? Isn't there a lot of, and having garbage on the, it comes before planning board, that they're doing a project before they even think about having garbage pickups or roll-offs,
It's
or
one of the things-
contractors, or, I mean, personally, I think the opinion of the person that is in the construction business would mean a hell of a lot more, excuse me, than a tree hugger, excuse me. I mean, no, the person that is in the business of building and stuff would mean more than,
It's
It would be-
a conflict of interest. There's a chance. The company, Beth could make money from this. She could profit from. No, she's involved in a project that Goss is doing the construction on,
that
such
has,
as Acadia Wilderness. Okay, she profits from it. It's a clear conflict of interest.
Yeah, but also, when you take a project, there's rules and ordinances to abide by. So personal opinion and shouldn't have anything to do with the decisions that the planning board makes, because the rules are set before them. I mean, you personally can't say, well, I don't want this project because I don't like them, because, I mean, that's not what you're there for. I mean, you have ordinances that you have to abide by, you have rules you have to abide by. You have to take your personal feelings out of it.
No,
I mean, you can't
I agree
change-
with that.
Right, I mean,
I
that's,
think state law, if you look at the planning board manual, there's a whole section there on conflict of interest. I think you'd find that you'd have to recuse yourself from a lot of projects.
yeah, but like what Peter was saying, I mean, yes, you're talking specifically about the campground, but if this had come before the.
No, I'm not talking specific. I just mentioned that because I knew you were doing the work there.
But if a project like this comes before the board, before a contractor, and before it goes out to bid, they would have to get permits and would have to get approval before any of this, anything starts. So, I mean, it's just like Goodwin's or McQuinn's. I mean, you have to get the permits before you can actually do the project.
I think
And so personal feelings shouldn't take effect into this. It should be the laws and ordinances of the town.
I also think we all could have a conflict of interest at any, I mean, we all run businesses in this town, so any one of us could have a conflict at any point.
At some
So,
point,
at
yes.
some point, we all have
having two
to.
fishermen on the highway committee. They're right there on it, now,
I mean, if
you
I applied for
Yeah.
something to do, I would have to rescind myself because I'm the one that's personally doing the project.
We have two people to hand. Jessica first, and then
Yeah,
Brenda.
so I was gonna say something very similar to Mackenzie. I mean, I think it's a small town, so we're all involved on different levels. But I think what really protects any individual who's interested in joining a board is when they come in to swear for that position. you guys do have, they have to come in, they raise their hand, they swear, hey, I promise that as long as I'm not invested in this way or that way, I'm gonna do what's right and what's fair. And if that individual at that time is not comfortable coming in and making that swearing in front of a witness, then that's the time for that individual not to be appointed. I'm a little concerned of going down a very personal route, and that is dangerous.
We have Brett and then back
I
over.
just think, you know, you need to be very careful if you're gonna categorically exclude people from participation in public processes just because they have a business or their families. I think just think you have to be careful of that. And on a case-by-case basis, if it comes up, that we can deal with it. But I appreciate Mark's concern, but I just think, you know, it just doesn't feel quite right to say that just because someone is from a particular family or they have a business that they just can't serve on a public role for the town. You know, I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to reiterate what Beth was saying. For example, we have an application that's in right now, sorry. But there's no contractor signed to that because it's just an application. So what she's saying is like, when it's up to be approved, you don't usually get a contract with a business or anything when it's in that process. It's not until after it's either approved or not approved, that you're gonna go down that route. So, that's what she's saying. Even our campground, the one that's in the application process now, we haven't signed back to, the construction for that. We haven't signed anything, because it's not approved yet, so.
Okay.
I think that it's too small of a community to be able to get around this 100%. Every one of us here has dealings with each other. So, and there's a lot of eyes on each people of the board as well. So it's not going to go unnoticed if something is not right. And the board also has the right to vote on for a certain member to step aside or step down during a decision. So you have a lot of power within the board as well to look for that and then make a decision on it, and also bring it to the town manager's, bring it to his attention, bring it to our attention if there is a problem. And I don't like to exclude anybody from the opportunity to help the community, especially, people from the community. So that's how I feel about it.
That's why there's 5 or 7 people to a board.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one opinion is not gonna sway the whole, that's why you all vote.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but there are rules and laws and ordinances that we all follow, that we have to, because otherwise you're biased if you don't. So that's how I see it.
All right. Is there any more discussion? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and just correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a second, for Beth Gott, term expiring June 30th, 2022, you said, correct? I just want to be sure. We got it. Okay. All those in favor? Okay, now
I'll
we
make a
have
motion to appoint Brett Witham to the seat of the planning board, term ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Brett Witham to a seat on the planning board with term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Next, we have the Recreation Board. We have one seat term expiring June 30th, 2024. We have Tony Manzetti, who is currently holds the seat, and he is willing to do that again. Is that correct, Jesse?
That's correct.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to appoint Anthony Manzetti to the seat of the Recreation Board with term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Tony Manzetti to the seat on the Recreation Board with term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I just also want to add too that recreational board could use 2 members as well. So I'll just throw that in there instead of the library in there. in a very, very long time. So, I don't know.
How many
So-
right now?
Yeah, it's
How
just,
many meetings we've had?
No. How many members do you have now?
Well, news to me, but apparently we have 3 members.
Three. Okay. All right.
3 members.
Surprise.
But one of them is very difficult to get a hold of, but that is something that I'll continue to work on.
Okay.
But it's been very difficult to move things forward with the rec board, seeing as there's just a lack of commitment from the community.
so we have 2 vacancies on that board as well. I just want to be sure that, that Jesse's tallying this up so we can try to put this out and get, get some more volunteers for some of these boards.
Mhm.
All right. It's moved and seconded in discussion, and all those in favor? Okay, next is the Solar Task Force. Do you want to chime in on this, Jesse? As far as I know, the Solar Task Force was supposed to dissolve, wasn't it? Well, turn into the
Turn into the
Sustainability Committee. Yeah.
Yes, so Chris said he didn't want to assume that that's what you wanted to do, so that's why
Okay.
it's on here in case you had
Yep.
changed your mind.
Okay.
It's creating the Sustainability Committee. So if you do not want to renew the Solar Task Force, then you just take no action on that
Mhm.
committee and go on to the Sustainability Committee.
So we need a motion first to accept it going from the Solar Task
No,
Force.
because you already created the
Okay.
Sustainability Committee.
Okay.
So if you take no action, the Solar Task Force will just
Okay.
expire.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you just appoint the members to the.
So we would just appoint members to the Sustainability Committee.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. We have 1 seat for a staff board member of a Climate to Thrive with term expiring June 30th, 2022. We have select board representative, same expiration, 2022, 23, or 24, I should say. There's the options for either. 1 at-large seat, another at-large seat, and a 3rd at-large seat. So we have five openings. And right now we have Lawson Wilson, Kevin Buck, Elaine Eaton, Marjorie Buck, and Rick Smith. And they're all willing to run again, correct? Or
Yeah,
to fill.
be
Yep.
appointed to this
Be
committee.
appointed to this committee.
The years need to be staggered. And if you look in the next paragraph down, 2 of them did have a preference on their years.
Okay.
Marjorie Buck prefers June 30th, 2022, and Mr. Smith prefers June 30th, 2024. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Buck, and Ms. Eaton didn't have a preference.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try this.
You want them 1 at a time, or do you?
Yeah.
Can we? Okay.
Okay, I will appoint Marjorie Buck to the Sustainability Committee with term expiring June 30th, 2022. Right?
Yep.
Second. Been moved and seconded to appoint Marjorie Buck to the Sustainability Committee as a representative at large with term expiring June 30th, 2022. We have too many things with all these committees combining. It's just, yeah. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
I will make a motion to appoint Rick Smith to the Sustainability Committee with a term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Rick Smith to the Sustainability Committee as a person at large,
Yeah.
right? Okay, with term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
So the other three, their terms are, what are their terms expiring?
We need, at least Marjorie's. So at least one of them should be a 2023.
Okay.
And then the rest can be.
So am I supposed to abstain from voting, right? How does this work? What am I supposed to say?
You
For my mother.
Just skip it.
Yes, you can abstain if you want.
Yep. If you feel like you have a conflict or can't make a non-biased decision, then you would.
Yeah, you guys can vote on this one.
Yeah.
Take the safe route.
And none of them care who gets 2023 and okay. All right. So I'm just gonna. I will make a motion to appoint Lawson Wilson. What is he? Climate to Thrive on the Sustainability Committee with a term expiring June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to appoint Lawson Wilson to the Sustainability Committee as a member of Climate to Thrive with term expiring June 30th, 2023. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I'll make a motion to appoint Kevin Buck as a select board representative on the Sustainability Committee with term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Kevin Buck as the representative from the select board on the Sustainability Committee with term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Is Elaine a member at large? Okay.
And what's her term? What would
2024.
24? Okay. Yep.
Then I will make a motion to appoint Elaine Eaton as a member at large to the Sustainability Committee with term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Moved and seconded to appoint Elaine Eaton to the Sustainability Committee with term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Mr. Eric abstains on that one.
I abstain.
Smart man.
Well, that one was.
All right, is that all of them? That's it? Okay. Financial reports. That is you, Jesse.
So these reports are as of May 31st, 2021, which is 92% of the way through the fiscal year. In May, we received $55,360 in property taxes, bringing the total collections for the year up to 97.34% of commitment, which is ahead of pace for all recent years. And we also received almost $34,000 in motor vehicle excise taxes, which has now exceeded our collections for the whole year, even though we still have a month left. The Harbor Fund boat excise tax continues to be behind pace, and we're anticipating the line will end below budget for the year. But the mooring fees now have caught up, and we may end the year slightly exceeding budget. Under expenses, the administrative cost center, which is the largest, is now exactly on pace to come in at budget for the year. It had been running a little over it the last two financial reports. The most noteworthy expenses has been the attorney fees line, which went up approximately $1,600 and has now exceeded the budget. They're primarily related to the campground applications and the aquaculture permitting process. Public Works is well under budget. We've only spent 80% of the budget, even though we're 92% of the way through the year. And a significant expense in May was the street sweeping cost of $3,400 and a purchase of a new pressure washer at a cost of $3,500. In the general ledger, the municipal revenue sharing account, we received an additional $9,506 in revenue sharing in May, bringing the total collections to $79,913, significantly exceeding the budget estimate of $63,537, and this does not include the final payment in June. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, Jesse.
I'll make a motion to accept the July 2020 through May 2021 financial reports.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the July 2020 through May 2021 financial reports. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, now we are on to the first thing on regular business, which is the Wharf House. We had talked about this a couple times off and on in the past, and we were hoping to bring, and I see it's great that most of the Harbor Committee is here, so we could all kind of brainstorm some ideas and try to get headed in a direction with what we feel that, or what everyone feels should be the next step with the Wharf House. As you know, it's sat there vacant now for quite some time. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, but it's sat so long vacant that it can no longer be used as a rental. So we are left with a couple of options, and I would love to hear any ideas you guys have had. We have talked about Harbor Master Shack. I know there's been talk about parking areas, so yeah, any feedback from you guys would be great. Josh.
I think originally we were concerned with tearing it down right away, that we would have a time frame of building something new there, but at the last committee meeting we were informed that's not necessarily true. So there was some discussion. I know Art had thought about housing, but that's off the table once again. So my opinion is I don't see any reason for it to stay standing at this point. I don't think making that particular building into a public bathroom, a Harbor Master Shack, it's not a great building. It's not a great shape. We've all walked through it and looked at it, and it would just be my opinion to get it down, and it could serve as some extra parking for now. We had asked Justin to look into getting grants to help with, some type of public facility there, public bathrooms, stuff like that. So it was my opinion to get it down sooner rather than later.
What's the timeline on that, Jesse? Is there no timeline at all, or?
There's no timeline if it's going to be used for a commercial fisheries use, because there's no, normally where it's sitting is too close to the water for a residential structure, so the timeline would be to replace it within a year if you wanted to be a non-conforming use, which is expired anyways due to non-use. So commercial fisheries is a conforming use being that close, so there's no time limit.
Is there any gray area if that was to be a Harbor Master Shack or anything else that isn't directly commercial fishing?
As long as the primary use is commercial fisheries, then you can have a limited, I think it's based on square footage, up to 2,000, square feet of another use, as long as
With the Harbor Master building fall under the commercial use.
Yeah, I believe so.
Because we wouldn't want to tear it down and then find out that.
Right.
We can never put anything back, yeah.
That's my only concern about
Yeah.
tearing it down without having a plan to move forward.
Right.
Just in case there is some gray area that we didn't see and,
Yeah.
bites us later.
And I just know from my own personal stuff on the water, and that's commercial, and it's zoned the wharf is zoned, maritime commercial use. We had 1 year, and that was it.
Mhm.
The DEP told us one year from,
Yeah.
and that building's been standing way longer than that house has. So that's the only thing that
Yeah.
I would be afraid of, is we would want to triple check that because
Yeah.
about the time you knock it down and then a year later you don't have a plan together and all of a sudden it can never be used again.
Another concern I have, if we knock it down with the future hopes to build whatever we may build, and we spend the money to make it a parking space, and we're spending money for no reason really, then we're gonna have to dig it back up and,
Yeah.
and how much parking space do we really gain from that? Not a ton. So I guess the decision would be, reuse it as a building or make it a parking space, one or the other, kind of.
Yes, Mark.
Well, the foundation's in rough shape. I mean, I would love to have found a way that it could become affordable housing and all that. That's all lapsed. But the foundation's in rough shape. What you did to make it a parking may be a retaining wall and it may be some grading, but that stuff might be somewhat to the good if later on you decide to put a structure there. It would be halfway to a slab and
Right.
it would stabilize the hill, so you'd be ahead a little bit.
Because it would probably be a slab and not
Probably would be a
yeah,
slab.
so the,
So that would be to the good.
Would it be worth getting some
Peter
prices?
actually might be able to answer that question for, as far as the slab and the foundation, if it was, do you think you could put a slab in there, Peter, or?
I mean, if you're gonna do a retaining wall, you might as well do a foundation with an open front.
Yeah.
And I
You gotta
mean, we've
retain,
talked
you
about
gotta
it,
retain that bank.
Yeah.
the harbor committee and stuff, and I mean, I agree, I wouldn't tear it down until there's a decision made, because you don't know what's coming up in the future. You don't know when things are gonna change. The building right now, I've walked in it, I scared.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's a lot of down pressure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was scared, even walking through it. But, I mean, to take it down, get your ducks in a row. And I've talked to Justin, I've talked to some of your board and stuff. And to actually take and be able to have, by doing your basement, by doing a walkout basement, you're getting two things. You're getting your retaining wall back across, against your backyard that's your leach field and stuff built up. You're giving a room for the town boat to be in undercover. You're getting a room for your harbor master to be able to do float work and stuff right there on the shore and be there if he's needed. Instead of, up here in the garage and stuff, do a simple one-story. Public bathrooms are dirty, they're messy, they're a pain in the bathroom.
we have to have someone to clean it daily.
Somebody,
which
which
is-
falls back to probably your harbor master or your money, your cleaners, you're gonna spend money to do it. Give him a shower, toilet, sink, whatever, give him some lockable storage, give him a desk looking out across there, he's got his computers and stuff in there. Keep it simple, that's a big thing. And don't worry about your public bathrooms and stuff. Put a couple porta potties, that's the cheapest way. Somebody else is cleaning them and everything right there. And then you've got a building that's gonna last for our lifetime. Well, maybe not some of them, but mine anyway.
And
You've
so,
got down
and then it opens up some dock space for
there.
however
Opens the
that
dock
wants to be
space, it opens
used.
the bay up here for your trucks and stuff that he's not got floats in. He's got it down there.
So I guess we just gotta figure out what we wanna do, that way we can get some estimates and,
And I know, with you and I talking and stuff, that, it seemed to me, it seems to make sense to make it usable space. You're not gonna get another car in down there, another truck or whatever. I mean, you're gonna extend the parking lot, but you're still gonna have the same amount of spaces as what you got right now.
Yeah, and I just hate to see, I know I've said it before, and you're probably tired of hearing it, but the Clausen lot was purchased with big ideas, and it has served zero purpose, in my opinion. It cost the town a lot of money, and Justin told me last time I brought this up, what was it, 10 Sternman permits for $100 a whack? Yeah, so that's not even offsetting what the taxes used to be paid on it. And I hate to just see another lot just go by the wayside and be not properly used. But
That would make sense to be resident park. I mean, I can't go down and park down the town dock
yeah,
till afternoon time. Is there such a thing as doing some resident parking? I mean,
Yeah.
my fat ass going up over the hill up to the upper parking lot and back down, I ain't gonna make it. But I mean, just,
I'll come get you, Peter.
Huh?
I'll give you a ride.
Give me a ride, I'm gonna be halfway, I'll be going out of breath. But I mean, to go all the way up there, you've got older people, you've got, and everything. Is there such a thing as making that lot for residents to park there before noontime?
yeah. Now I had that same thought probably a year ago when we talked about it, and we would have to do improvements to the lot, but I think if you, just a rough number, if you put $20,000-$30,000 into that lot, maybe, might be less, but if you put some riprap out on the edge, and brought it so there was nice parking and we could actually use it as a proper parking lot, because right now, like I said, it's not generating anything. It's not helping out. And I do agree that there's a lot of taxpayers in this town that are not commercial, and I think they deserve the right to be able to park down there. If Mel, for instance, is not commercial, then if you want to park there and row off the harbor and get to your boat, then you should be able to. I think that and as far as I know, back when I mentioned it, someone said that maybe the Gotts Island overflow would end up parking there, but if you made it for daytime use only, so it's no overnight parking, then they could use it for the day, but then in the evening, your cars would have to be going away from
Park your trailers up above, or run your trailer home. I mean, you can park your vehicle, have it for vehicles only.
Yes. Yeah. Larry.
Are you saying that we do a building and parking there? Or one or the other?
No, what we're talking about, two separate lots, is kind of what it split off to. The what Peter was saying was the what I call the Clausen lot, but you know the small parking lot halfway up the hill that it's kind of like a driveway with a few parking spots
In two
beside it.
separate projects?
Yes, yeah, and this project would be just not widening it out that much, but cleaning it up, doing whatever you had to do to make it stable so that people could properly park in there and get 15, 20 parking spots.
But as far as the wharf house, if that north wall, retaining wall, would it be able to be permitted to go back where it is, or would the state or somebody say that the wall has to insure more and we lose space?
No, Jesse, that's Jesse's bullet.
Normally, there's no setback for the commercial fisheries, but we definitely want to run the plans by the
Yep.
DEP and get their approval before
Because we
anything.
might not get as much as we
No.
can permit.
I know, and that's why I spoke about my own personal stuff, because I've been down this road many times with two different commercial properties, and I was under a timeline and definitely under an exact footprint. I could not expand outside of that footprint, so you want to be sure if someone does want to do something with it in the future, that you take that into consideration.
And it all needs to be well documented. So.
Yeah.
How far can that Clausen lot extend towards the harbor? I mean, is there room there, or
Justin.
can we gain?
There's a fair amount, but then you're gonna run into the septic.
Yeah, leach field right below that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Could-
the retaining wall would be the answer.
Could you do
Really expand it.
riprap on a bank to be able to get a single car width, like if you pulled into that lot and then parked facing the front of your car towards the water, you would get a single width all the way across the front of that land right there. That you wouldn't need a retaining wall for that, would you?
That's what we have currently.
Yeah, I mean, just dress it up, make it so it's all usable, and maybe further back, because I think you can go back further in the lot, I believe, and that wouldn't require much fill because it's a little bit higher grade in the back rather than on the water side of it.
So then, what do you do for Sturman permits? Because some of them are residents and some of them aren't.
Right, there's two lots there, so.
Right.
I mean, it's obvious who fishes and who doesn't.
Right.
so.
But as long as there's room for residents to go in, then good enough. Because it's
And
not
they-
going to be packed with residents, probably.
No.
But a few parking spots would be nice.
Especially at the time of morning, that usually the stone usually they've packed well in the morning, hopefully.
No, they haven't parked well. They parked in the morning.
Yeah.
They haven't parked well.
Yeah.
And they do have the upper parking lot, and that was what was in the discussion before. Is everybody said, well, every regular non-commercial taxpayers can use the upper parking lot, but that is so overflown with
Everything.
fishermen. There's lobster trucks. There's boat trailers. There's overnight Gotts Island. It's full all the time. You can't even hardly ever get a spot in there either. So there's just a need for parking. Mark.
I've seen those lobster trucks there. Do they pay a fee?
Not to stay in the parking lot, I don't believe.
That's what I was wondering.
No.
And they're taking up space that could be used by others, correct?
Yes.
Free parking.
But nobody pays for the parking.
Free parking.
It's a, I'm not sure what the, I know we went over like 2 years ago, Mark, each lot in town and what each parking lot had for an ordinance, and each one has its own separate, so I'm not sure on that one whether there was, some of them were overnight, some were not overnight, some were commercial vehicles, some were non-commercial vehicles, so I'm not sure what that one
just
is.
curious.
Yep.
I think the only restriction on that one is the length of stay for boat trailers,
Okay.
pretty sure.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, in terms of the Clausen lot, years ago, I had the suggestion we put a picnic table there, and it ended up underneath the tree, just as on the upper portion of the Clausen lot. And nobody ever uses it there now because the trees have grown up, can't see the harbor. I would have no objection, would actually love it if we had a little town park, right in front of my house, but above where you can really see the activity on the town dock. So if that one picnic table, or
There's
maybe
actually 2 picnic tables there,
if those were moved further along to
where you could actually see the view.
where
You
you
might
see the
use them.
view, I mean, it means we'd be looking at New York Place, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be wonderful to have a park put down there.
I think the rec board was responsible for the picnic tables, if I remember right.
Yeah. I thought we had talked at one point with, I think Amy was on there at the time, and they were gonna put a couple down like on the septic area. I think that'd be right below where you're talking about.
Well, no,
They're
the
underneath
septic,
the big tree that's right
that's,
where you
that's
enter.
where my septic tank, which was a perforated
Okay.
thing,
Yep.
used to be.
Okay.
But it just doesn't work as a park, but I think by just pushing it further beyond the wellhead.
Okay. I got you. I
No
understand.
one they park trailers beyond the
Mhm.
wellhead, and that's great, I mean, but if it was a town park and we level it out, put
Yep.
grass on it, it'd be lovely. That's the thought.
No.
I think the only time the picnic tables were used was when we moved them up and had a birthday party and moved them back.
Yeah.
Temporary.
So, what do we think the best use of the wharf house is going to be?
Should we get prices for tearing it down?
And rebuilding it?
At one point, on the harbor committee, I suggested we at least go as far as getting prices, and I don't see anything wrong with being informed to at least know what that would.
Yeah, that we know what we were looking at, it doesn't mean you have to do anything.
Doesn't- yeah,
but that-
you don't have to
that's a
commit to
starting point,
anything.
Like what it costs to tear it
Yeah.
down, and then, like we said, looking at any kind of building you did there, whether
Yeah.
it was just storage for harbor master or whatever you wanted. Maybe estimates on a couple different ideas, but.
Right, then we
It's
have.
been going around and around for, yeah, we discuss it once in a while and kind of call the same thing, well,
If we all decide that it's going to be a one story, I mean, I would think that that would be it. What it gets used for exactly, 4 walls and a roof
Yeah.
is going to cost pretty much the same any way you slice it.
Yeah.
So the couple of interior walls might change slightly, but that same footprint, get an estimate for that, the groundwork getting it tore down and rebuilt, gives us something to work with at least.
yeah, certainly a good starting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I've got, hang on just a second. I just was thinking, I had one question for Jesse while on Eric's thought. Now, what if we took and tore it down and then put in a foundation? I'm just speculating. Like a 28 by 28 foundation, whatever it needs to be. Did the full foundation and then let it set until the building materials hopefully lowered down. Would that keep us grandfathered, or do you have to show progress in the building itself?
The site plan review ordinance, land use ordinance would require moving forward.
Okay.
Substantially.
Okay. Yep. That's just one thought
completing
I just said.
by a
Yep.
certain date.
Okay. Yes.
Would the funds for this building would have to be approved by the town meeting?
Yes, I believe so. Yep.
And I know, Jamie, with this building, when they first started talking, they said the biggest thing was to do the excavation. If we can get started, and then slowly it went on, then you get the walls, the concrete work was done, so it went quite fast, but the town office was always at the school. But when this building started, it was, oh, we're just gonna clear the lot, and we're gonna do the digging and stuff, and then it go, I mean, so it's a matter, to me, of, you know, granted, you're closer to the water and everything, but I believe you've got that 1 year, don't you, Jesse, to really make, to step it up, or start doing
Right,
something.
you have to substantially start within 1 year, and
So-
to substantially complete within 2. You can request an extension
Yep.
from the planning
Yeah,
board.
so I mean, you could do the progress over 3 years,
Mhm.
and still be within your,
Okay. Yeah,
your limit.
that's what I was asking, I
Yeah.
think, is more or less, but if we could stretch this out so it didn't all come to once.
We had, once we get estimates, then we can break it down, maybe thirds or whatnot, how much we wanna spend per year and everything.
I think you say you had a computer program?
I don't have anything like that.
Oh, I thought I'd heard you say that before.
No, I got graph paper
Oh.
and a ruler and a pencil.
I mean, before we had Kevin just threw out a sketch that he had done just to get a rough idea, and that's something that I think if people are on board with it, once again, whether it be Kevin, Eric, whoever has time, I don't any of you guys that want to draw out just a rough sketch of what we're thinking, and maybe with Justin, and Justin can just say, I need 16 by whatever his number is, 24 for this, and I need this for this. We'll figure out roughly what size it is, and then go from there.
It would be nice to keep the architect price out of it, but.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, I don't, I can't imagine for how basic, I mean, in my eyes, this would be like an extremely basic shop. I mean,
I think we ought to let Justin draw out what he thinks he needs and bring it to us.
can you do that,
Yeah,
Justin?
I've done it before, so.
Bring
I've
it-
got some graph paper.
He's got graphics.
Yeah, graphic.
1 square's 1 foot.
And would it, do you know the exact dimensions on that?
I think it was like 28, like
28.
32.
Yeah.
The problem was the boat trailer was so long, yeah, more than a ton.
We had grandfathered the porch space out there too. It was, the trouble is, I think we ran into before when we drew it out, is it got so big that there were some ideas to get it big, and it got so big that it's like we could never afford it. So if we can get something that's as small as you possibly can, maybe eventually we could afford it.
Boat trailer needs what, 25?
Yeah, I think it was probably about 6.
So that footprint that's there could potentially work.
Even if you did a 28 by 32 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that covers your boat, that covers your
We
floor.
can't go bigger, really, can we, Jesse?
Yeah, you could go bigger.
In one direction if needed.
Away from, yeah.
Right. But it would probably be easier to go the same size or smaller, right?
28 gives you
It wouldn't,
Wouldn't affect it.
no, I looked it up, the lot coverage at one of our meetings.
Mhm. No, I remember
Fair.
from this discussion before that we had, if you included the decks in, because that was in on the square footage, there was something else, we had a lot of, there's way more than we're gonna need
Yeah.
for square footage to put something back, so that's not an issue at all. Yes, Dean?
I have a question for Jesse, maybe a couple. Like you say that the residential part of it is expired or whatever. Well, do municipalities, do they have more wiggle room or leniency or whatever on statutes like that?
Typically not. I can double check with the DEP, but they're usually pretty adamant about the commercial fisheries zone not having residential use in it. It was a recent change 2 years ago. You used to be able to have an accessory residential if the primary use was commercial fisheries, but they've completely eliminated that altogether. So you can't even, if you have a principal commercial fisheries, you can't even put an apartment above it anymore. They don't want any new residential in that zone whatsoever.
When did the residential part expire? Like, when was it last, rented or whatever?
I remember what Chris has said. When was it last
Been
round?
what, 3 years?
Yeah, it's been toward it 3 years ago, roughly.
Yeah.
I would expect, yeah.
So is it 5 years
It's
on,
1 year in that
on
zone.
non-use in that zone?
Yep. And you can request a 1 year extension, so 2 maximum, but you have to do it within that first year.
That was a surprise to me when I heard it. That's extremely restrictive, because I know they always used to let an accessory dwelling on a commercial fishing zone, or apartments and docks and stuff like that. But
Yep.
where that's changed, that's
Yeah, couple of that grandfather.
yeah. No, I know.
The building looks good on the outside, Dean, but inside, you can look out through. I mean, it really is inside, it is scary. We all went through it. But,
Right, I mean, I've heard that it was bad, then I've heard it's not so bad, it's like cosmetic.
Yeah.
No.
It's bad. If you went in, you wouldn't want to spend the night there by any means.
The block wall isn't flat, but
Yeah.
they polished it up, but I guess, yeah, this block wall is still.
The windows in the new roof outside make it look good.
Yeah, we were in there. I think it was 3 years ago. We all toured it.
Yeah.
All the select board did, and it was rough then. I can only imagine what it is now, but it was.
Oh yeah. From the outside, it looks good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, the worst,
Inside, looking out.
the worst
It's
part I
scary
see of
there.
that is the amount of money that you have to put into making a rental that's going to bring in a lot of money. It's a lot more than
Yeah.
To fix that.
either to fix it or rebuild it. You're going to have a few $100,000 in it, and then the timeline to pay it off is it's gonna be a long time. So
It's also a nightmare chasing tenants.
Town should be in the rental business.
Right.
that's just my biggest concern. The amount of debt that it would take, and then the timeline to pay itself off, and then start making money. That's why I lean towards Harbor Master Shack myself, or something similar to that.
Yes, Dean.
Well, I mean, you guys also are considering a new fire station, and with the new fire station, there is, from what I do the gossip on, I will say, what I'm hearing, I mean, there's ample place for Howard Master Boat, working on floats, stuff like that. So, I mean, it might not be essential to, I mean, depending on what transpires, it may not be essential to take and need that space for the.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any current plans for a fire department at this time. Yeah. So, what do you guys think about letting Justin draw up just an idea, give it to the harbor committee, and then the same thing once he had, just get a rough idea, and then we could look at demolition costs, we could look at all these, and see, iron it out from there.
How many estimates would we like to see per contractor of, for groundwork? Do we want 2 or 3 estimates to look at to compare, or do we want, how many do you want?
I think it's
Just
three.
3.
Yes, 3 by,
Yep.
we have to.
3 carpenters, 3 groundwork, 3 electricians, and plumbing too, right? Because if there is a septic there, you're gonna want to use it.
And I know we mentioned before about having the fire department, but they said it was too close to everything down there.
That's what I was just gonna
They
say.
won't-
I think
they
they
won't
won't
do it.
burn it.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, they won't, because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
asked,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and there was no interest.
I thought Keith said the one time we were talking that they're being more restrictive as well on letting them burn any houses at
Yeah,
this
they're not allowed
point.
to
So
do that so much
no, I
anymore.
didn't. No. So
And then, I mean, either way, if Justin has, or whoever the harbor master is at the time, has more space there, he won't need the space in other places. So other places can be downsized or used for other town business.
yes.
This is obvious, but, you know, part of our discussion when we were talking about the building was having that boat on that trailer right there next to the ramp could cause a rescue to happen quickly, or something like that. It's kind of ideal to have the harbor master boat right there next to the ramp.
Tools and everything.
And I know there's not currently anything for grants, but there was one at one time that said if Justin kept the boat in there for an emergency use, there was a substantial grant money for him because it was what was it? It was like a port security, yeah, there you go. And it was a substantial. It went
by.
Yeah, it went by. But there might, hopefully.
But regardless of that, having that boat there, someone gets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if we let Justin draw something up, we can figure out some demo stuff. What about the upper parking lot while we have everyone together? Is that something that anyone thinks should be pursued? Leave it alone for now? What is everybody's thoughts? Not just this, but any outside thoughts? Justin, yourself? Yeah.
Depends on where the money's coming from,
Yeah.
in all honesty.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's coming from the war fund, or, as you know, we're pretty well strapped.
Yep.
But, we do make the last payment on that in 2024, so that'll be an extra, $25,000 maybe, I think. So
I know.
that'll be the year to do it.
And that's something that we'd have to discuss as to where it would come from, because this would be for general taxpayers. But I also think that general taxpayers do contribute to, not necessarily the war fund, but they do in a roundabout way to a lot of these projects to do with the wharf and the harbor. And it'd be nice if they, there was some use there for non-commercial people. I think that's a good idea.
I agree. I hate saying it to you, Jim, but I think I agree with you.
I agree with that too.
It's even on camera, Peter. So you agree.
The federal projects and stuff, it is for the public.
Yeah.
It's for everyone, so it's hard for people to get down there for sure. And I know I've come up with like the Gods Island parking before. A lot of the people are elderly and they're walking from the seafood catch to the ferry terminal with their bags and stuff. It would be nice for them to have a place to park for a few minutes, load, unload, not have to walk down the hill. Just anything for the general public.
Yeah.
Is always good. So.
And we've got a lot of taxpayers that have been in town for generations that don't necessarily commercially fish, any sort of commercial activity, but they paid a lot of taxes in town, and I know they can use it afternoon time, but I think it would be good if you guys think it would be okay to I don't know if that's something we would draw up, Justin, or as well, just kind of get a rough idea how many parking spots you could put in there.
Just measure it all out.
Yeah, just see roughly what we're looking at. Then it might be more inexpensive than what I had said, but we.
Worth looking into.
Okay. Yes, Dean.
When you guys look at expanding the parking, I'm gonna call it the middle lot. That was just scrapings off the side of the road we got from the state after we bought the Clausen lot. It was put in there, parked there. And I mean, you might wanna look into expanding that. I mean, cooperating, if you're gonna do the top, why not come up with, get an engineer or something, or someone to do a layout, if you could get like double row parking in the center thing, especially if you're gonna do away with the house down there type deal. I mean, you might be able to I don't know how many cars now parked in that one section, but I mean, you might be able to throw another 10 vehicles in there. If you were to come down below and put a retaining wall or something, I mean, you might be able to expand that middle section by a lot type deal.
And this is the one trying to vision, the one that's just above that septic is what you're saying. The one, yeah, okay, before you go up on the, I know it's hard. I call it the Clausen Walk because that's where, you know, the one that's up the hill the most, I should say. So you're saying the one that's down below just a little, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get
I mean, because you might be able to
which one's
narrow
that?
up the upper one
Mhm.
or something. I mean, I don't know if there's an ample amount of space that ample vehicles, there's a lot of wasted space. But you might be able to dig that back and try and make the one lower section go to the septic system.
Yeah.
So you can create, you know, 2 rows of parking there or whatever, so.
Yep. No, I think that upper lot, just looking at it, I think it wouldn't take a ton of cleaning up, just like you say, to dig out from the bank some, put a little more fill, you secure the edges so you don't have to worry about people parking close to the edges, and, yeah, I'm sure we can probably
guess
have a lot
I'm
more room
confused.
there than you think.
I'm confused. I thought that's the lot that we were talking about.
Well-
If you were standing in the wharf house, go right up over the hill, that first dirt.
Well,
lot.
there's kind of one before that that right in back of the septic, there's a little flat spot there as well. So you have the wharf house, there's the septic, which is just the grassy area.
Yeah.
Just above that, there's a little spot, and then you go up the hill a little bit further, and there's where the Sternman parking is in, which
Right.
is the kind of halfway up the hill, maybe, I guess, kind
It's
of.
in 2 tiers now because the ledge comes right out of the
Yeah.
ground there. That's why they didn't dig it back in flatter
Yeah,
over
okay.
further.
Mhm. So developing either, you know, anything we can there, I guess, is what I'm not opposed to doing. Whatever we had to, if it meant dropping the upper Clausen lot down to meet halfway in the middle with the lot Dean's talking about to make one bigger area or whatever, just ideas, I guess. Yeah.
While you're talking ideas, I mean, Carlton got permission to redo a septic system, or do a new septic system where you park on top.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if for any reason that septic system was suspect, or even if it wasn't, you know, for the wharf house, if you wanted a septic system, you might get quite a bit more parking if you re-permitted for these chambers that allow you to park on top. So.
Yep. Yep. All right, has everybody got their 2 cents in? So Justin, you've got some work ahead of you. It's all on you. Yeah. Okay, anything else on the wharf house? Good? Okay. We will move over on to the next thing, which is the town of Frenchboro transactions. And Jesse, I'll let you lead on this one.
Okay. I'm probably gonna let Katie.
You can, yeah.
She can explain probably what we've done historically for them. That the town has historically processed some minor transactions for the town of Frenchboro as a courtesy. We've had recent contentious issues regarding these transactions with residents of Frenchboro and the staff of the Frenchboro town office. So Katie can elaborate what we have been doing and what the issues are.
So currently, the town of Tremont is a Moses system, so we're an online renewal for boat registrations. The town of Frenchboro is manual, so none of their registrations can be done online. In the past, we have issued boat registration stickers for the town of Frenchboro, as long as they've paid their excise tax and prove that they've paid their excise tax to the town of Frenchboro, and come to us with a manual registration that's got all the boat information on there for us to continue that registration and issue the stickers. When talking with Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, it's pretty simple as the town of Frenchboro can change their manual process as long as they do the training. They haven't done that. That's their choice. That's their select board's choice, whatever they choose to do. But Inland Fisheries and Wildlife indicates that it would be in both towns' best interests, if we're going to choose to continue to do this as a courtesy, to give some type of memorandum of understanding to Frenchboro and the town of Tremont that we agree to what we will do and how we will process it with the correct information. There's not very many residents in Frenchboro, so in the last couple of weeks, quite a handful of the residents have come here with basically nothing, saying that they've been advised to come to Tremont and process the registration. I have nothing to look up their vote with. I can't help them as much as I'd like to help them, and it's just become a he said, she said battle between the residents of Frenchboro, whoever is in charge that day at Frenchboro, if you can get a hold of anybody at Frenchboro, and we're stuck in the middle.
So they've just kind of put it all on you instead of going through the process
So I
of
have
bringing
no
it to
problem helping them out. I mean, helping another town out is what we all do, but I need something to go off of because we are an online system. I can't look their stuff up because they're a manual system. I don't have access to that, unfortunately, so it puts the town of Tremont in a tough position when, you know, we have other Tremont residents that we're trying to service just as well. And you've got Frenchboro, you know, upset with the town employees because we can't help them.
Seems to me they should either pay us for our services or they should go to the training.
And again, I'm not telling another town what they should and shouldn't do, but, you know, I have no problem issuing the stickers, but I need the information. It's not a guessing game. It's not an argument that I want to have with those residents.
You shouldn't have to.
Right,
No.
so.
I don't believe it's your responsibility. It's not your job to be attending out. I mean, it's one thing to do something just to help out, but if you're getting frequent customers, and I think it's time maybe the Frenchboro figured out what they want to do with their own stuff on their.
And, you know, Chris made a phone call to their tax collector who would collect the excise tax for the town. And it just seems that nobody's on the same page. Their selectmen aren't on the same page as to who's in the office and who should do what and what they shouldn't do, and just expect that we can just do it for them.
Right. That shouldn't be our problem.
You know, our town office is run a little bit different than their town office, so we can't. They, you know, it's just, it puts us in a hard spot.
Yeah. Well,
And
it'd be
our
like
office is busy enough.
And like I
With
said,
our
there's
own
not that many
stuff.
residents, so I don't mind issuing those stickers, but you need the information to be able to assist those residents. And if they don't have it, there's nothing that I can do about it.
In my experience with Frenchboro, which was a long time ago, if you give them a little leadway, they will take advantage all day long. And I don't know what if they have office hours out there, or
We haven't gotten those answers either.
And I've been in Katie's shoes, and it's a nightmare. You know, you have 6 Tremont residents waiting in line with all of their stuff like they're supposed to be doing, and then you have to spend a half an hour on the phone with some other agency trying to dig up all this other stuff that they didn't bring. In the past, it was supposed to be sort of an emergency kind of like, oh no, but now I think Frenchboro just assumes that we're going to do it, and they don't even try.
Or understand the process of why I need this information to be able to do their registrations.
And it would be different if their clerk was calling you on the phone and saying, I can't, so-and-so's coming, can you, whatever. But I think they just show up on your doorstep. And we want to help other communities, but we also have to protect them.
So maybe guidelines?
So, the suggestion is that, I don't know if the town of Tremont Select Board writes a letter to their select board, so their selectmen, and say, we will be happy to do this as a courtesy for the residents of Frenchboro, but we need A, B, C, and D in order to do this. Otherwise, we're not able to.
And if you
help out.
don't have those in line, I'm sorry, but you gotta go. Because they can go to Ellsworth.
Well, they'd
unpopular,
have to,
but they
they'd
can.
have to send their stuff to Augusta. Just mail in your stuff, get your stickers sent back to you in the mail. It's a
So they should be nice to
you.
So their town, like the guidelines may be, or the letter that we write or whatever it may be, should be the Frenchboro town clerk needs to contact the Tremont town clerk via email, whatever, all the person's
Whatever it is.
information, scan it in. They got computers out there?
I
It's just graph paper.
I've never been out there. I don't know. Might be out of their house.
If they provide you with all the information,
Yes.
then that's okay, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
And I've made a sort of I made a guideline for the other deputy clerks upstairs, so they're not put in a position to try and explain this to the resident who has no idea besides, why can't I get this registered? What's the big deal? What's the problem? So I've made up a guideline for the girls upstairs to say, to present to them, this is what we need. If you don't have it, unfortunately we can't do this today.
Come back.
So this may be the same information that you put in a memorandum of understanding.
So the way the suggested motion is written is that we would request the town of Frenchboro provide us a draft memorandum, and then you guys could review that and accept it or not. And
So
if they
they would
choose,
draft it and send it to us.
and if they choose not to, we would not process any transactions
Until we get that.
they do,
Yeah.
until they provide that and we accept it.
Pretty good.
And what if
Yeah.
we don't like their draft?
Then you could request a change.
We can. Okay.
I think that, that's my thing. I was wondering was if this draft takes 2 years for them to write up, then I don't think that you should be having to go through any hassle. You have more than enough to do taking care of the town of Tremont. So my opinion is, in the meantime, we stop doing them, and then if they want to draft something up and we can all come to an agreement, so be it. But until then, I think it's putting you in a hard spot and the staff, and it's just a headache that you don't need. So
Might get them moving. So, yeah.
And then I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to request a draft memorandum of understanding from the town of Frenchboro or the town of Tremont to process some transactions on behalf of the town of Frenchboro.
Second.
And do you also want to add in there, in the meantime, no longer processing?
So until we have a signed memorandum by both boards of selectmen, we will not process any Frenchboro.
Yep.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Been moved and seconded to authorize the town manager to request a draft memorandum of understanding for the town of Frenchboro for the town of Tremont to process some transactions on behalf of the town of Frenchboro. In the meantime, the town of Tremont will no longer be processing transactions for the town of Frenchboro. Does that sound okay, Mackenzie?
Yeah. I have
Okay.
one question though.
Yes.
They're bringing cars too?
No, they cannot.
Okay. So it's just.
Correct. It's just inland fisheries
Okay.
transactions that we can even
Okay.
try and process.
Okay, good. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Is there any more discussion? All those in favor? Okay, health insurance stipend. I know we had spoke about this a while ago. Any update on it, or is it just
It's just the personnel policy requires that you set the amount each year.
Mhm.
There's currently nobody employed here that's utilizing it, but if we hire somebody that wants to, we need the amount set. Last year's amount was $4,000. You can choose to set it at that or a different amount if you so choose.
Is there an increase or decrease for cost of living or anything like that?
The cost of living
Typically,
is an increase of 1.33%, so you could choose to increase it.
is that typically done with?
It's up to you. I mean,
insurance
this
stipend?
is fairly new, I believe, for Tremont, so.
I know a lot of other people do it, you know, as long as the amount it kind of coincides with how much you're paying for their health insurance.
And this is a full-time employee?
Yeah.
Not a part-time? Okay.
no one is collecting now, so it's not a. It's just to be set, just in case you do hire on someone throughout the year that might want to take this.
So no need to raise it.
Yeah, I don't see any. If you don't have anyone that's
Right.
yeah, cross that bridge when you get to it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to set the employee health insurance stipend for fiscal year 2022 at $4,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to set the employee health insurance stipend for FY22 at $4,000. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Town manager's report. Now this cannot be too long because you've been a town manager for a total of 24 hours here, so.
Well, unfortunately, Chris left me
Oh, he did. Oh, he left you.
notes to include. So,
Can't get rid of him.
so major emphasis in the last 2 weeks. We visited the tree house that was discovered out near the town property line. We made a visit with the abutting landowner as well as the Hancock County Sheriff's Office, and the landowner gave us written permission to go ahead and remove the tree house, and Public Works removed it on June 16th. We've been doing ongoing work with the planning board and engineer Greg Johnston and Dugas regarding the proposed town office paving out here by the salt sand shed. That process is still ongoing. It'll be back before the planning board tomorrow night. And we worked on the manager transition process quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. Minor projects of interest, working with the lobster boat races coming up regarding their certificate of insurance. We had a water issue with the treatment system here in the town office. Norland's made a visit, was back in working order now. They skipped their quarterly maintenance, and so the filters all plugged up and the water stopped, but it is back functioning correctly. Chris had a conversation with Sundog Solar regarding mowing under the solar panels, and much to Troy's delight, Public Works will now be handling the mowing under the solar panels from this point forward. We worked on the preparations to reopen the community building and this room for public use. Signed and sent off the main DOT agreement for the flashing school zone lights. We reached out to Kathy Miller in Mount Desert about being a part of the broadband committee. Worked on renewing Wharfinger insurance for floats and moorings, and added Seal Cove to that policy. It was not on the policy previously. Submitted grant application through Maine Public Assistance for COVID-19 expenses that were incurred prior to the Keep Maine Healthy grant. There was a couple of months of Zoom meeting fees and the plexiglass sheets up in the town office that were acquired prior to that original grant. So Chris submitted them under this one. Worked on the pole barn bid specs and placed the ad for the code enforcement position. And that is going to run again this week's paper. Again, they skipped it last week, so sorry. Office staff clerk has filed the tax liens at the registry, been working on the oaths for office staff and elected officials, and reached out to people who had inquired about renting this meeting room. And we've been handling, of course, more campground questions over the last 2 weeks. Public Works replaced the culvert on Clark Point Road on the 15th, and they'll be paving it in the future after it settles out a bit. Did a lot of mowing, ditch work along Bernard Road, removed the treehouse, repaired washouts from that storm, mostly along Cape Road, installed the AC units in the town office, and assisted the harbor master when he was diving on some transient floats and ferry floats. And the harbor master installed the new weight limit sign at the wharf, repaired decking on the ferry terminal float, took Chris and I out on the harbor master's boat up along the shore to the town line from Pretty Marsh and back. Checked the fish ladder in the beaver dam to make sure they were clear. Worked on getting a boat off the float at the town wharf, issuing transient rentals, hauled 2 loads of traps off the dock, and has been answering mooring questions from users and residents. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to continue to work on the town office paving, I'll be meeting with Dugas and Greg Johnson Wednesday regarding the paving here as well as the road projects that they're preparing to start, and working on the code enforcement hiring process and updating the committee appointments that you made tonight.
All right, thank you, Jesse.
Not overwhelmed yet.
Oh, yeah. All right, suggestions for the next meeting. Date of the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Tuesday, July 6, 2021 at 5 p.m. at the town office.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Tuesday, July 6, 2021, 5 p.m. at the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next we have an executive session. Title is a drainage easement acquisition.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session as permitted by 1 MRSA 405.6.c for consideration of acquisition or disposal of real property or rights therein, since premature disclosure of this information would prejudice the competitive or bargaining position of the town.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session as read by Mackenzie. Is there any discussion?
When's the first meeting?
Your first meeting will be July 13th.
July 13th, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All those in favor? Is for coming out of executive session. Okay, we're out of executive session. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay.
Good job, Jesse.
Thank you. Yeah, good job, Jesse.
Better luck next time.